Offside. Out of bounds. Welcome to Offside and Out of Bounds. I'm Junior. Thank you for joining from Spotify or Apple or whichever podcast platform of your choice is. Today is the third installment, the AL West, the third piece of our pièce de résistance, the 2021 MLB season preview show. As we have done for the last 2 days, today and will continue for another 3 days, we will preview a division a day leading up to our live show, which will take place on our channel on YouTube at Offside and Out of Bounds. It will take place at 9 p.m. on March 31st. Join myself and my partner in crime at Offside Adam, where we will break down the league, talk about who we like, who we don't like, and our picks for the divisions, as well as the eventual World Series champ. So as our format has been the last 2 days and will continue today, is we will break down each team, each division. We'll break down the team, who they added, who they lost, our concerns and where things can go wrong, what they need to do to stay competitive, who we're excited to watch, who we aren't excited to watch, and where we think they're going to finish. Let's go! The Los Angeles Angels, 26-34 last year, missed the playoffs, and they are managed by Joe Madden. Breaking this team down. This team is currently sitting in the number 14 spot of the preseason power rankings, and I always have a good laugh this time of year as the prognosticators tend to put this team a bit too high on the list, but we do call that the Mike Trout effect. This year they brought in Dexter Fowler, Juan Lagares, John Jay, Jack Mayfield, Alex Cobb, Jose Quintana, Kurt Suzuki, and Jose Iglesias. The subtractions from this team were Anderson Simmons and Julio Teheran. Our concerns this year is they have done some work this offseason and gotten a little bit better. They did solidify their outfield with the additions of Fowler and John Jay. Defensively, that outfield's going to be quite strong this year. In the infield, the corner spots are pretty solid with Rendon and Pujols. And with the addition of Jose Iglesias, they are going to address a bit of that concern of the middle infield. The most glaring concern is going to be this pitching staff. You know, at the top of this list, you've got Dylan Bundy, who came over from Baltimore last year. He did kind of reclaim his career last year after, being shelled pretty much most of his career. Now, the reason he did do a little bit better is he started mixing in his breaking balls and didn't rely on that fastball much anymore. But where are you going to get out of him this year? Outside of that, you've got the oft-injured Heaney, Quintana, who's been getting a bit of the injury bug more frequently, and to have him regain his form from 2016 might be too much to ask. Then we come to another reclamation project in Alex Cobb, who's not been pitching well since he left Tampa. Filling out that staff is Canning and Ohtani. Now, Ohtani was destroyed last year, had an ERA of 37.8, and the only thing Canning has on his side is youth. Where things can go wrong. There are a lot of places and things that can go wrong with this team. With the years past, there's always been a sprinkling of talent around Trout, but they don't have the pitching staff that's going to get them to that point where they can compete well into the second season. I have a feeling that this is just going to be another year of Trout's career that he has a steep mountain, Everest in proportions to scale to get that first World Series appearance and a shot at a ring. Just not seeing it. What they need to do to stay competitive, they need a lot. Joe Maddon's a tricky guy, and he can definitely maximize the talent that he has on the field, but they're going to need to get a lot from that pitching staff, a lot from that bullpen. And when they don't have a single pitcher in the bullpen with double-digit saves or an ERAs above 5, it's going to be a tough climb. Players we're excited to watch. This is an obvious answer, and it is the best player in baseball. Trout is closing in on 1,000 runs scored in his career, and his next home run milestone is 400. So unless he absolutely goes off this year, he's not going to reach it just yet. He's also sitting at 1,380 hits, and he should get above that 1,500 mark this year without issue. Now, it just goes to show you how hard it is to get to 3,000 hits when one of the most dominant baseball players over the last 10 years is just about to get there halfway. Who I'm not excited to watch. What the Angels management staff is doing. Yes, over the past few years, they've brought in Rendon and they've got some more steady offensive pieces, but there's still no top flight free agent pitcher who wants to come to this park. And I think it does have a lot to do with that park and the fact that they don't have a surefire offense. Where they're going to finish. There is a lot to watch out of this team with Pujols edging closer to the number 1 on the all-time RBI list. He is only about 120 off. and Trout increasing his numbers. But the only thing for them is that no one else in this division did anything to get that much better. In fact, some teams got worse. There is a good chance that the Angels might be in the division crown race, but I see them in that high 70s, low 80 win total. The Seattle Mariners. I'm so cringe. The Seattle Mariners, 27-33 last year, missed the postseason, and they are managed by Scott Service. Breaking this team down, they currently are sitting in the number 24 spot of the preseason power rankings and are returning Rookie of the Year Kyle Lewis. Who they added? They brought in Ken Giles and James Paxton. Who they lost? A lot of minor pieces, and D. Gordon, who left for Cincinnati. Our concerns with this team, with most of the division in regression mode, there were a lot of things that this team needed to do to get to that next step. Now, granted, they did solidify the end of the bullpen with Hunter Miles Giles and brought in Paxton, who should be a solid number 2 behind Ace Gonzalez. But when you look at the rest of the starting staff in the bullpen, the disappointment that's been Kikuchi, Justice Sheffield just hasn't really been halfway good, and Chris Flexen, who's tried to reclaim his career in Japan, we just don't see enough outside the top 2 arms for this team to not provide concerns with respect to their pitching staff, where things can go wrong. Health of the pitching staff is definitely where everything can go wrong. Paxton and Giles have seen their fair share of injuries over the years, and they're going to be in steep as they just don't have an offense that's going to write home about. So if that pitching staff is not healthy and not logging a lot of innings, and Giles is not locking things down, it's definitely going to be a point of contention for this team to deal with. What they need to do to stay competitive. Pitching needs to stay healthy, and the top 2 in the rotation need to be out of this world. The offense is going to have to take a step up, and Kyle Lewis, Kyle Seager, and Haniger are going to have to carry that load this season. I think it's just a bit too much to ask them to do that. Who we're excited to watch. Following up his rookie season where he hit 22 home runs and 72 RBI and had an OPS of 730 is Kyle Lewis. Speedy outfielder with lots of tools in the box, and he's definitely going to end up being a great major leaguer. Who we aren't excited to watch. I'm not excited to watch Yusei Kikuchi. You hate to see when a team dumps significant international resources on a guy, paying these ridiculous high transfer fees before even signing the guy, and then he turns out to be a bum. Now, Kikuchi's not at that bum level yet, but he is marching ever so closer to that designation year after year. Where are they going to finish? They had a decent offseason, but I don't think they have enough with the pitching staff and are going to rely on basically 3 to 4 arms to carry the load and responsibility of a winning season. I just can't see that happening. I've got them pegged in the low 70s for win total. Everything's bigger in Texas. Yeehaw! The Texas Rangers, 22-38, didn't make the playoffs last year, and they are managed by former player and Blue Jay Chris Woodward. Breaking this team down. Currently sitting in the 27th spot of the preseason power rankings, they have been extremely busy this offseason trying to get better. Who they've added? They've brought in Ian Kennedy, Brock Holt, Mike Fulton-Weiss, Chris Davis, Delano DeShields, Sam Gaviglio, Dane Dunning, Nate Lowe, and Joe Gatto. Who they lost? Corey Kluber, Elvis Andrews, Aramis Garcia, and Shin Soo Choo. Our concerns with this team are simple. It's a common theme that's been about a lot of the teams so far, and that's pitching. But where are all these pitchers gone? Fulton-Weiss is going to be a bit of a reclamation project, and outside of Dunning, there isn't a whole lot there except for a bunch of starters with ERAs in the 5 range. Their number 1, Gibson, does have some swing and miss stuff, but the rest of the staff have much lower K rates. Where things can go wrong. Chris Davis and Joey Gallo are going to be a nice 1-2 punch, and Nick Solak should improve this year. But outside of that, there's not much there. And then to add to the pitching staff and the lack of it, pretty much everything is going to go towards them having another long season. They also are the worst road team in the league, as they are not good away from home. And if you can't win on the road, you're not going to win anywhere. If this offense is quiet again and some of these reclamation projects don't work out, Texas, enjoy your 2-foot-long hot dogs, because that's going to be the only enjoyable thing you might get out of this team this year. What they need to stay competitive. They need better seasons from pretty much everyone on this team, including the newcomers, which might be a tall task. Okay, it's impossible. Chris Woodward will have a lot of work to do with these guys to keep them motivated. They do have some talent, but they're going to need to win on the road, and they need to score a lot of runs, and they're going to need this pitching staff to be lights out. Who are excited to watch? I'm excited to see what Chris Davis is going to do. Playing in the home run heaven of Rangers Park, it's definitely a lot nicer scenery than that concrete monstrosity that he's used to playing in. Who we aren't excited to watch? Rougned Odor, That ridiculous batting stance, it's just really annoying. Where we think they're going to finish. They did a bit, but definitely not enough. They're going to be in the basement looking up again. And I am liking them in the mid to high 60s for win total. This is Oaktown, mother. The Oakland A's, 36-24 last year, and they did lose in the ALDS to the Astros and are managed by the ever-aging Bob Melvin. Breaking this team down, they currently are sitting in the number 16 spot of the preseason power rankings, and this team was very busy this offseason. Who they added? Mitch Moreland, Trevor Rosenthal, Elvis Andrus, Trevor Rosenthal again. 2 Trevor Rosenthals. That is a mistake. Cole Irwin and Sergio Romo. Who they lost? Pretty much all the offense outside of Matt Chapman and Chris Davis, Marcus Semien, and then closer Liam Hendricks. Our concerns, they have young arms, young, unexperienced arms in Puck and Luzardo. But for once in these previews, it's not about arms. I actually really like this rotation and their bullpen. The concerns are that of the defensive offensive losses of Davis and Semien. It might be a huge issue scoring runs. Mitch Moreland isn't going to be a savior by any stretch of the imagination. And the offense is going to have to come from Matt Olson, Matt Chapman, Sean Murphy, and Laureano. Where things can go wrong. Well, when you have your offense coming from 4 guys, you need Matt Chapman, Sean Murphy, Matt Olson, and Laureano to be healthy. Now, they've had some injury issues as of late, and if they do go down for any extended period of time, we think it's going to throw a wrench into this offense as they don't have enough coming off the bench to kind of step in and, be a moderator in terms of that. What they need to do to stay competitive. This is going to be a competitive team. I think they did enough in the offseason to address some of the loss. Andrews will be a decent replacement for Semien, and all they need to do is stay healthy and play well on the road. Who we are excited to watch. I'm a big fan of Jesus Luzardo and AJ Puck. Looking forward to what they get from them this year is definitely going to be a huge thing. Who we aren't excited to watch. I am not excited to watch any games at this mistake of a field. Ugly peripherals, not good for TV. There's not a lot going on in Oakland right now that is a positive. They need a new stadium like stat. With all the money they're saving on salaries, you'd think that they put it in a better stadium. Where we think they're going to finish. This team's going to be right there. I like them in that 83 to 85 win range and look for them to be in the race for the division. The Houston Astros, 29-31, lost in the ALCS to the Rays last year, and they are managed by Dusty Baker. Breaking the team down. Currently, they're sitting in number 9 in the preseason power rankings, and regardless of the hate that people have for this team and the things that they did, take the cheating away, this is still a talent-rich team, and most of these guys are in their primes, and they do boast probably one of the strongest infields in the game. Who they added? Pedro Baez, Jason Castro, and Jake Odorizzi. Who they lost? George Springer and Michael Brantley. But then they got him back after some of the worst media coverage and the biggest bonehead move I've ever seen. Who reports on a deal being done when it isn't signed or have confirmation from a player? Either way, good on him to use the Jays as leverage to get a better deal for himself. Our concerns. After this scandal, you could see a couple of guys' numbers drop significantly, mostly in Altuve. He either had a bad year or he's been cheating forever. If this team is on, our concern is for the rest of the league, where things can go wrong. If anyone regresses further or gets injured, those are pretty much the biggest issues. They might take a step back, but they're not going to implode. There's too much talent here. What they need to do to stay competitive. They just need to stay healthy and maybe learn how to deal with heckling better. Who are excited to watch? I would have to say it's Alex Bregman. Pretty much one of the only guys whose numbers didn't regress massively, but it wasn't enough to cause any controversy. He did have a .979 fielding percentage at third last year, and he is one of the best young third basemen in the game at 26 years old. Who we aren't excited to watch. Whoever ends up playing center field, it's going to be interesting to see if they can replicate what George Springer has done. If not, this could be a glaring weakness for the rest of this team, as I don't think there's enough speed in the outfield to help out that center field role too much. Where we think they're going to finish. They're going to be right there, most likely winning the division. They're going to be in the low to mid 90s in wins, maybe even a bit higher. The pitching staff is too strong, and the offensive production is too high to see it any other way. The wrap. This is going to be a two-horse race with Oakland and Houston. My projections for the division are Houston with the crown, Oakland with a wild card, Angels in third on the outside looking in. We've got the Mariners in fourth and Texas in the basement. Again, we are hoping for a nice season where everyone is safe and healthy and we can get back to some sense of normal. For everyone at Offside and Out of Bounds, I'm Junior, and this has been our AL West preview. Check back tomorrow as we will be previewing the NL East. And again, we will review another division each day leading up to opening day. We'll also have our MLB preview show streaming live on YouTube at 9 p.m. on Wednesday, March 31st. Check Spotify, iTunes, or your podcast platform of choice at midnight for the audio version of the full MLB preview show. Thanks for listening. Support local, stay safe, and see ya real soon. Thanks for joining us from Apple, Spotify, or the podcast platform.